แล้วก็เวลาสำหรับครอบครัวเด็กมา
แฮร์รี่นี่ของใครพี่ตาม
ตามใจครั้งนี้นะครับ
แม่พี่เจน
การในครั้งนี้โดยศิลปินชาวมาซิโดเนียนะฮะชื่อคุณนิโคลาอูซูโนฟสกี้ครับผมก็เพิ่งเจอเขาวันนี้แล้วก็งานของเขาจะเป็นการประสานเรื่องของวิทยาศาสตร์แล้วก็การออกแบบเข้ากับงานที่มันต้องใช้เรื่องของการ collaborate กับผู้คนรวมทั้งเรื่องของสิ่งแวดล้อมรวมทั้งเรื่องของประเด็นเกี่ยวกับวิทยาศาสตร์Ladies and gentlemen, welcome you to the talk program as a part of Surpass in the Future. So, here with us is Nikola Uzunovski from Macedonia. He will talk about his project and enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you very much to everyone, for the organizers, for inviting me, and for a nice stay with them, and for everybody who comes to talk, and hopefully we have a discussion afterwards, and who's interested to add comments or discuss something. I will do a kind of introduction of my previous artworks, so to tell more about philosophy of my work, and then after I will talk more about one project, which is the biggest project I worked on for more than 5 years, and it was also exhibited at the Venice Biennale and many other shows around. Well, I come from, I was born in Yugoslavia, in Eastern Europe, which was a kind of socialist, communist country, and had more ideology to making good for the people, which worked quite well for 50 years. But then, yeah, slowly started falling apart. And in that period, I was studying in a school of more art and applied art. So you study also kind of liberal arts and also practical industrial design or more scientific knowledge joined together. But then I decided to move to Italy. That was one of the best countries in the world, or Europe, where you can learn art. And when I came there, it was interesting that my teachers, they're like, okay, where are you coming from? Macedonia, social realism. So you have to forget about that. Everything you learn there is here, doesn't work. And then I started, working more on what is the message of because in the schools in Yugoslavia it was only about copying and researching the nature and not much about the message of the artwork, because there the system has to tell you the message and you have to get or just produce the message. And then because I'm also in my country in the previous few years, when I was young, and until the 1990s, there was one system of values, one system of aesthetics, and then it completely changed, vice versa. Everything which is good became bad, and everything was bad became good. And then I went to Italy, and there was completely another system of values and completely different aesthetics and different artwork were produced. So I kind of started questioning myself, what is a good artwork, and what should I do? And then I started working works like this. For example, on the show, I kind of made a set design of a living room, and I put a small cake, and public was asked just to, as on a birthday, to go to the cake, light a candle, make a wish, and next one. And everybody is coming out from the room with a smile until his ears, and I didn't know why they were smiling, but I knew that I kind of switched the action which the artist should do, decide what is the highest norm of aesthetics and what is important, and I pass it to the observer. But this was in relation with a new philosophy which is rising in the last 10, 15 years since the internet, because like before the internet 20 years ago, information for 100-year-long period was sent into one direction through radio and television. Somebody sends a message and the population listens and cannot reply. And that led to a very also political change of centralization of power. And then this centralization of media got into also very social political problems like we've seen in the last years. But now with internet, the power of the message is given back to the people. But with this new tool like the internet, like for example, I'll give you an example. Times Magazine, which gives the page of front cover page every new year to the most important person of the year. In 2007, it gave it to the public, or they just put a mirror on the front on the cover and say you are the person of the year. Or they write an article that today through blogs, because this was the year of the blog and Wikipedia and Facebook, that now through internet everybody can become the most important person of the year. And I try to bring this philosophy into the museum art, to document this with artworks which tell the same message. Today, with free information, we have to become more creative and more responsible, because everything we do can influence everything else. And for example, I did a series of works trying to tell this message. For example, I close the gallery and I put a post-it on the gallery door, what are you waiting for? Instead of seeing what the artist did, think about the ideas you didn't realize that, and you realize. It doesn't have to do nothing with the art world or with the artist, just your personal dreams. This is also an artwork. It's called "Change in the Air Changes Everything," and it's just the artwork label in the exhibition. And but it's telling you that not even the things you don't see, like you're in an exhibition hall and there's air around you, which also other artists used as an artwork before, but I'm telling you, not even the air is important. It's important that every move you make, even if you don't see it, it changes things, like the butterfly effect. And this was a work which was shown in exhibition about more environmental consciousness. This was in a museum in Italy, the Lapland, Then this is an installation in Venice where the city is like a maze and there are like the street signs which tell you where to go, not get lost. But I wrote this street sign which says the right way and a double arrow, which means whatever turn you make is the right way. But if you kind of think more deeply, it's about the importance of your personal messages, just to give you value to your personal experience. This is a label from a show in the National Museum in Macedonia. I did a show in which there was only this short text, which explains to the audience that you are not here in this moment only because of this exhibition, but because of the choices you made previously in your life, which brought you here. So all your life is a part of this artwork, and because there's nothing else in the museum except you know that you are the artwork, and as you go out from the museum, you have to know that everything from now on you do is an artwork, so be careful what you do. Then also this is similar. As many of you know, there was an artist called Joseph Kasut, who is kind of father of conceptual art and most important artist, but who took textual definitions of objects and exhibited them to say that the concept is important, the message is important. But I'll also say, the concept is not important if the person you're talking with doesn't want to hear shit about it. So I say like, yeah, the personal experience is important, and that's why I take a definition of something very personal, like the definition of love, in which it's not important the text which some scientists wrote about what is love, but it's important thing in between the lines you put. So where everybody who reads this text actually sees another thing. And that's why it's called like the one and only, instead of like one and three chairs. This is a photo of snow from Stockholm. This is a series of photos of snow from Stockholm, Helsinki, Amsterdam, Berlin, Venice, etc. And I started working on this project, and I'm working still for many years. And because I've started traveling a lot for work, and especially a lot in the Nordic countries, and there's snow everywhere, and I like go to ski, and I started taking photos of the snow, but overexposing or making this exposure of the camera to get a completely white photo without any shadow. But what happens? Then when I send the files to the gallery, and I tell him print, and then he pays a lot of money to print, and then the paper comes out from the printer the same like before print. There's no physical change in the paper. But to do that, yes, I have passed thousands of kilometers. I have met very nice people and have seen very interesting experiences. And that's what this is a metaphor, because when I exhibit this photo, or when you see a photo on the show, for example, they were. Well, it doesn't matter if they're like normal visitors or art critics. There's half of them. They say, okay, this is just empty paper. But for a person who maybe spent his life skiing or some place with the snow, or had the best experience, like many people in the north, having their childhood pass in the snow, will be the most beautiful photo. For example, he saw. For example, half of the series of these photos are from famous ski centers, which maybe some of the Europeans passed their best time in their life. And so a person or a collector will give a lot of money to this empty page because it reminds him of his personal best experience of his life. And of course, it's also this is kind of proof that we value things depending on our personal experience. This is another project. There are curators in North Italy who made a project which will, for exhibition, which will be done in a kiosk. And then I kind of had to think about a show, how would a show at a kiosk be, and I designed this like a Venetian tourist kiosk where you sell postcards. But the postcards is different with normal postcards where which kind of background like a real postcard, but in the front you have the person who kind of take the photo or went on a vacation somewhere. So it's not about the valuing of the background, it's about the valuing of the personal experience, how this person spent in this place. And it was an open call in the newspaper and also in the kiosk that we are accepting photos from anyone, and we transform his personal vacation photo or whatever photo into a postcard. So it's about transferring giving the value to the personal experience. Well, crisis. And a couple of years ago, the financial crisis started, and also a social crisis with that in Europe, maybe in the Western world. So I started also reflecting this context, and a couple of years ago, also an artist Ai Weiwei, who famous Chinese artist, got arrested, and somebody got an idea that his name was similar to Love the Future, and they started using this sentence as a protest for the arrest. And I also got this like this sentence because it's also same with my philosophy of kind of promoting not only the value of your kind of past or present experience, but also of your future, of your ideas. And just having a sentence which is love the future means that we have to dedicate completely to the future and be more creative and more dedicated physically to create a new future, not think about what were only the problems of the past, but also think fast how to make a new future. And this was kind of presented in shows and also in public spaces around. After I stayed for a couple of years in Macedonia, which has a really big kind of political problems and very corrupted and uneducated government, and we don't know the end. So I made this artwork, which is just the title of the artwork is the message, which it can be read like superficially, like the artists don't know what to do. But if a lot of people read this, it becomes a social critique. Like everybody said, like, yeah, when I was young, we were afraid of a nuclear war, but never thought that we, in our country, the political system or the social status will be so bad like today. And it's more like it's a more local message about Macedonia, but like it's also a global message because also the level of education and the quality of the politics have fallen down everywhere in the last 10 years. This is also one long-term project I'm working on for many years. When I was in northern Europe, in Lapland, I found this. It's the official post office or the official office of Santa Claus, where all the letters from all around the world arrive. But the Finnish post office made a convention with all the other post offices that if they receive letters with the name Santa Claus on it, they don't know what to do with it. Send them here, and they have an archive of millions of letters coming each year, and but there is a team there who opens like about a few percent, and the people who ask direct questions to Santa Claus, they give an answer just to continue the myth that really Santa Claus exists. But the next year, most of the letters are destroyed, but one part, like 5%, are given to a state archive. So when I found this, for me it was very interesting to see this process, how a wish or idea comes into reality, and how much like the context in which, for example, this child is living influences his wishes, and how much his wishes change or maintain the context. So I started a research on a comparative analysis between different countries and to see what are the differences between different countries or with different time periods. So here is an example. For example, letters who come from very capitalist countries like the States or the United Kingdom are like this, a list of 50 toys, technological, but these are 50%. And the other 50% are letters who say, children who say, we don't have clothes, please send shoes, for me this number, for my sister who doesn't have a jacket, please this number. And they're actually kind of desperate. They leave their phone number, address, and even the number from the neighbor in case Santa comes and doesn't find anything. But that tells a lot about the context or the system of values. In this country, there is the capitalist system is also competitive system. So or you win or you lose, or you have to take from the others or the other will take from you. So this is also visible in the letters of kids of 3 years old or 5 years old who are more sincere in their expressions and not filled like the older ones. And this is an example from a letter from Italy, or it's the same example is in the old South European countries or South Asian or South Americans, which people are starting letters usually, I don't want anything material, I want just happiness or peace in the world. Like this little girl from Italy wants peace and schools for the kids in Fallujah. It's a village in Iraq which is strongly bombarded and tested with new chemical weapons by the NATO forces. Or this, a letter from Italian boys, instead of writing a text, he writes international words like heart, 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 and then I respect you very much. So this shows about the system in the southern countries, which is not it's more about relationals instead of material things. And for example, other kids in Italy sends the recipe of a cake to Santa Claus, or first he asks him how's his wife, so he can get more familiar on emotional base. And this is an example from a letter from a North European girl, and it's like a bill. I have cleaned my room every day. I have helped my mother in the kitchen. I have worked this and that, so you have to give me this, this and that. And the list of toys is never too big, and it's always like a rational, it's all pre-calculated, what she knows she will get. And that's the same example in all North European countries, maybe Canada, but it's the same system passes through technocratic society, a society where the system of value is based on work, on working hours. And this applies also to North Asia, like Japan or South Korea. And yeah, the show, this is not from the show, but this is the show still from the Santa Claus office, but the show is similar. The idea is to reproduce Santa Claus in the office in the museum and have letters you can read, like the visitors can read the very personal wishes from children all around the world, but also like that they are reminding themselves about their wishes. But there will be also this book of statistic analysis with infographics, which tells you that that wish the kid wished or the wish you wished is not yours. It's made by the system or by your environment. If you change environment, you will change completely, like even character, you see set of values. And this is the project which I mostly worked on in the last 6-7 years. When I worked in Lapland, I saw the very big difference, cultural difference between like people from the south and the north, because in Lapland sometimes you can get out and wait for 3 hours and not see a living soul in the middle of the city, or you can't see a group of friends sitting at the same table and don't talk for 3 hours. And so I compare this with the lifestyle of southern people, which always live outside and always communicate. And somebody told me that there was some place, some village, which had a day which lasts only half an hour. So I said, okay, with this there half an hour I can get 5 minutes from sunrise to sunset. And I tried to get this, but it's really difficult because I used some programs by astrophysicists or meteorologists who write to you about calculating with the GPS position how long will be the day or when the sun will come out and come in. But those were mathematical simulations, and when I got, for example, I went like 3,000 kilometers from south to the northeast of the Lapland in this place and wait in a certain day for this event, and one person told me, oh, but the sun won't rise here for at least 7 more days. And then I understand that this program works on a completely flat Earth and doesn't calculate the mountains, which make a shadow over a long area. So I climb on top of the hill, and I arrive at a situation where the sun is only a few meters above, arrives a few meters above the ground. And because I also studied a lot of industrial design and I have experience in aeronautical design, so I said, okay, I can build a balloon with a mirror inside. It can fly in the light zone and reflect the sunlight down, and what visually it will look like another sun. But if we can even kind of develop this, we can develop it into making more suns, and we'll get this image of a sci-fi movie with 2, 3 suns, because we have to get ready to go to new planets in a few years. But also it will be interesting that if you put more reflexes into one area, you can rise, every reflex can rise the temperature of maybe 5 to 10 degrees. So you can make a microclimate. In a village in Lapland, when everything is snow, you can make this one square, which is like 20 degrees, and we can go swimming and have a summertime. So I designed this, and I went knocking on doors and mayors and cultural producers in that area. But those are small villages or small cities, and where people are very rational. The winter lasts for 10 months, and they have to calculate everything. Everything has to be sufficient. So when I present this project, people say, okay, it's not possible. We cannot give it money for this crazy thing. But then when I went back to Italy, people asked me, like, what were you doing like this last year? Like, I was trying this project, like bring the sun to people in Lapland. And they say, wow, wonderful. Because Italy, even if they don't have money, like they will give their last money for chasing dreams instead of buying ration things they need. And there was this gallery who has a prize for contemporary art, and they liked the project, and they gave me the prize to kind of start the project. Because I said, okay, we can have multiple ways how to produce it. One is to get a big grant from the European Union. Other is by making a lot of drawings and sending them to galleries, or making collaboration workshops with many universities. And I divided the project in many small workshops. And they did a timeline, which has to be first and second, how can we develop slowly the project forward. And then this thing got out in the news, in the main news in Italy, in the main newspapers, and people started calling, wow, wonderful, we want to help. Somebody gave money, somebody gave assistance, and we started the project. So the first step of the project was that I transferred this gallery in like a physics research center. This gallery was in Trieste. In Trieste, in Italy, was maybe one of the biggest research centers in physics. It's called International Center for Theoretical Physics, which all the best scientists in astrophysics collaborate. And we made a call to the center, and few professors said, "Wow, fantastic! We want to join." And we made a few workshops on the weekends. And the first part of the project was to just write a simulation program which can tell us, okay, if we put GPS position and time, it will tell us how high this shadow line is. So because also every altitude has a different environment, different temperature, wind speeds. And then I went to Lapland, and there I did another workshop with the Meteorology Research Center about Arctic climate to know what are the temperatures and wind speeds at this height. And then I came back to Italy, and we started doing the first prototype. There is an art residency specialized in environmental issues near Pescara in central Italy. And we did the first prototype, which was just a plastic balloon with a mirror inside. But this one is only made to measure the quantity of light reflected. So how much light we lose, how much we gain, what happens if the mirror bends, or if the material will heat a lot. But this one was non-flying. We made a little thicker plastic just to see one aspect of the physical properties. But the result was quite good. And then we made a schedule to test different materials, first about their resistance, but then also we knew that in cold, really extremely cold temperatures like -20, 30, the materials behave differently, so we have to go to test them in Lapland. So we made I started working project with all kinds of people. Sometimes it was a collaboration with the university, sometimes with a research center, sometimes even a high school, sometimes friends, and I try to involve as much people into the project as possible. And it also is now this is related to also a new system of production, which is kind of developing in the last 5 years, which is like crowdsourcing. Before you had mostly theoretical or projects which were done on collaboration online, like Wikipedia, writing text, but now you have websites like Kickstarter, which everybody can put an idea, and if the people really need this, you can get millions of dollars in a few days by a donation of $1 from 1 million people who really like your idea. So we continued this project with whoever wants to join it. So this was with the Lapland University. We did also another variation of the small balloon, but the first flying balloon we did this flew away because it was done like a prototype with adhesive tape. And on -20, the tape becomes harder and breaks easily, so I don't have the documentation from this moment. But it was nice because it flew away like a rocket, and it rotated the ball and flashes all around, and it was a fun experience. Then I was called by the Minister of Culture of Macedonia, because Macedonia has the sun, a flag, and it's a national symbol, so they like to make a little bit of advertisement and say, okay, we can show this on the Venice Biennale. I make a lot of advertisement, but then the financial crisis started in 2008, so I only got half of the budget which I started with. I started a project with, and I had to start cutting back, so it was a really big, hard period. But for that, because Macedonia doesn't have a physical pavilion like other countries do, like a building in Venice which they show their artwork, and we started developing the project more and more, and we needed like a transportable space, like a transportable laboratory which you can move around and continue with the bigger prototypes. So this is like a shipping container which opens like some kind of spaceship, and we wanted to make like this a lab in Venice which has this balloon above it and flies and reflects in the middle of Venice. But then we started this from scratch. We have to cut back from a used container, but we redesigned it and made this pavilion, which is near the entrance of the main exhibition. And we didn't have the budget to maintain the balloon the whole 6 months, because helium has to be refilled and it's quite expensive for 6 months of maintenance. So we fly it on a few occasions and the opening a few times during the Venice Biennale. And inside this laboratory, there was the whole documentation, video, and images and calculations of the previous research, and we also use it as a lab to continue to making new variations with collaboration with visitors, because we had like 500,000 visitors, and a lot of were interested, and they had comments and suggestions. Some of them joined in the physical, building of the prototype. And this is one of the sessions we fly the with the balloon. then I usually, when we make a test session, I try to find an environment which is kind of alienated, which looks like another planet. So the whole documentation has also a little bit, because we don't know if we're going to arrive at the end or not. But anyway, it was a nice story to tell, so everybody will spend some time amazed by the experience what we had while doing it. So we try to make the whole documentation look like a fairy tale. So these are some set images from some islands in Venice, which only appear sometimes in a year. And also the project is shown in many galleries and museums as a laboratory, which we can sometimes work on some more theoretical part of research, scientific research, or we can do a prototype. So it continued to be shown in a lot of museums after the Biennale, but the problem is that to continue the project we need bigger and bigger budgets, and now in the crisis period we didn't have bigger budget than the Biennale, so we kind of it was quite a lot exhibited because it's still a metaphor of the kind of big economical change which happened in the last few years by transforming the whole energy economy from carbon-based energy into solar or alternative energy. So this is just a metaphor that instead of saying, okay, we are changing economy or energy from carbon-based into solar-based, this is a nice metaphor. We are making another sound. And these are some of the documentation which are sold to collectors to raise funding to continue. Afterwards, I also started making variations of this balloon, which I'm kind of developing in the last period, which are kind of, instead of filling the balloon with helium, to use a special layer of black plastic to heat the air inside. But also this concept can be used also to build like a blimp or a air ship that can travel only by the sun, heating the air from sunlight. So this is the next, but also this is also a variation which we made like a flying disco ball for a festival in Macedonia. I can show you now some videos, and if you want, if you have some questions, please. So now we have developed a version which is like a kite. You just control it with a cable. But the idea is to make a kind of three-ring system that is computer controlled, that you can just program to get a certain position and to illuminate one place. So, but we did some small prototypes for that, but not implemented in. And it depends a lot of weather conditions, like for example, if it's clouded, you cannot, at least you can, here in this case, we had a little, like a thin cloud, which is blurring, it's not 100% of satellite, maybe it's 50%. Questions like put some videos in the background. Yeah, we'll put the videos in the background and you move on.
First of all, during your experiments about the prototype, is there any problem, technically problem about temperature rising and luminosity, like very strong light?
No, strong heat, no. Because, for example, the balloon, transparent balloon, if we calculate the quantity of light which hits the transparent plastic, and the one who cuts from the other side from the plastic, you lose a little bit like 3 to 5%. So the transfer plastic doesn't heat. Then the second, the light hits to reflective plastic. But interesting thing is the reflective plastic, when it reflects the light, it slows a little bit the light and makes it a little bit more warm. So if you measure the heat from the real sunlight and the heat from the reflected, the light from the reflective plastic is warmer, which is interesting, but a little percent. And also in all the refraction between light getting in and getting out, we lose about 5 to 10%. So the balloon doesn't, the material doesn't get heat a lot unless, for example, you make a double layer that you have a reflective and a black plastic. And then the black plastic, for example, the black plastic doesn't bounce all the light, but it leaves at least 10% or 20% to heat the black plastic behind it. And then this black plastic transforms the light into heat and heats the air inside the balloon. But of course, if you bend the mirror, it can become dangerous. If you bend the mirror, then the light concentrates into one focal point, and that focal point can develop a very big temperature to begin with. It's a big mirror, like 4 meters. But this is always like in movement. I try to keep completely flat mirror, so the visual effect, what you get is same quantity of light like the sun, because if you bend convexly the mirror, then you can have a bigger area illuminated, but then the reflection will be smaller. It will look like a star between the sun and the star. But if you make concavely, then it will be too much, too strong light.
Between light and heat or temperature? What
Uh,
do you concern most?
Well, in fact, the heat is generated by when the light hits a material. So the temperature, the effect of light getting inside to whatever material. If light hits air, it hits the air. If light hits your skin, it hits you feel the temperature of the rising of the temperature of your skin. But yeah, in this case, for this area of flat and light end.
You said you're trying to use another method to rise the balloon in the sky using the heat of the sun.
Yeah.
How do you propose to do that? Because heating up with the gas and liquid light, we can't think it for a very long term.
Yes, but for example, if you make a balloon which has or the surface of the balloon, the whole balloon is black. The light which hits the black surface, it slows down or it transforms into heat. Then the balloon is irradiating only heat. Doesn't reflect
So
light.
that heat is being brought.
Yeah, that heat will expand the air inside the balloon. For example, 1 cubic meter of air, in this case, has a certain weight, 10 grams. But when you heat that air, the molecules of air get further each other from one another. So it means half of the air from the box will get out, and only half will stay in. And then, a principle of thermodynamics, the colder air will push this higher, like a balloon of air inside the water. So this balloon will lift up. You will have to calculate only how much is the skin, the balloon, the weight of the balloon, and how much you have to heat the air.
So you can use the solar energy to make the balloon higher.
Yeah.
Comparison is about the weight of the balloon and the effect of the helium gas. How long is time this can floating in the air?
Okay. For example, the weight of the balloon can be calculated by the thickness of the balloon skin. For example, it's usually 1/10 of a millimeter. But now you can calculate it how much material by radius and surface formula. And you have like different plastics. We try different plastic: PVC, polyester, polyurethane, and they all have specific weight. You can see on the internet. But also you have low density plastic like polyethylene, which is lighter, but it's not resistant. You have high density, like the best is polyurethane, which is very resistant. And but everything depends on the density of the plastic fibers. It depends the how do you call the helium molecule is so small, or atom, that it passes through the plastic. Well, not only for the plastic, whatever material.
Even glass.
Yeah. And this has, you can calculate by the density of the material how much percent per day you will lose. For example, if it's a low quality plastic, you will lose even 10-20%. But if it's a good quality plastic, you will lose 3%. For example, the polyurethane will be best to lose 3%, which means that every 3 days or you have to refill 10%.
Let me come back to talk about the process during test the balloon. While you talk about the documentation, you perceive it or make it as a fairy tale. And I think it somehow is like a kind of saga of people who have a case. When you say that, it's like people step in because they counter it to come to more elaborate, explain.
Okay. For example, many, because it's really different way of thinking of artists and, for example, scientists. The first when you ask collaboration from the astrophysicist, they say like, oh, you are crazy, this won't work, or something like that. Or most big issue was like, nobody will give you money. But then I explained to the scientists like, you know, it doesn't work the same way like you ask for grant for scientists. They need to have a good explanation how this will be profitable, for example, for economy. It's good for the economy. And they will get a grant or a really big grant to do some scientific experiment. But also the same, in Italy we receive grants, the more the crazy project it is, the better chances you have having a grant for an art project. So first, also the scientists were skeptic, like, well, you won't succeed in this. But then when they saw that it works, they were quite happy to join and to collaborate. And then it was something new that they learned that they didn't know it existed before. And another case in this was Macedonia, because Macedonia has like, it had this big transition between the socialist communist and the capitalist system. And in 20 years, everything is like all the factories and all the industries and research that existed was all destroyed, and we just import foreign products. In 20 years, science doesn't exist. Budget for research doesn't exist. It's like people who were born like 15 years ago don't know what research is. And then we did workshops with young students who never did research, and then we say, okay, we're gonna do this flying balloon, this flying airship, which reflects light, and then they say, not possible, what are you talking about, you're crazy. And then it's explain, you do this in 3 days, 1-2 days, we build this and it flies, and they are really happy to see that they made such a thing, and it gives them courage then to realize whatever. This is another flavor. And the whole message of this project is that when you see somebody made a copy of the sun, you know, the message is like, if you see a group of children sit on a table and made another sun, everything is possible. It's just the project that kind of gives you courage and inspiration to realize, to don't be afraid to realize anything.
How do you propose the balloon stays in the air? I mean, through cables, it's hanging from somewhere, or it's standing on something?
We were working on different variations. For example, we were working with architects to make one project with a village in the Alps which don't have sun, to have a cable connected balloon over the village. But for the Lapland area, which doesn't have mountains, we made a variation which is like an airship with an engine that moves the balloon and can stay one day in one place, another day in another place.
So where is the engine? On the earth?
No, it's like electric.
It's up there with the balloon.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's two methods. One is if you put like a propeller, like an old plane. Another is that the heat which heats the air inside, it's expanding, and you use this expanding air as a propulsion to move. But this is theoretically possible. We have to see how good it is in practice.
With more light, more temperature, artificial sun. Does it put any emotional effect for people?
Well, yes. For example, there is this this problem in the North Europe, in the richer part like Scandinavia, is they try to resolve it in many ways. For example, they know that the lack of sun is linked to a lack of some chemical substance which is important for happiness. And you can see this special lights, for example, produced by Philips, famous companies, who they put in public spaces or bars, and then you will see a lot of people, everybody is near that light, which says sunlight to the light. You know, it's the same wavelength as the sun. So that is one example. But yes, there are many researchers about the influence of sunlight to the emotional state.
Did Philips company approach you?
No, but I was approached by Toshiba. They want to use this project as an advertisement campaign.
Toshiba is a Taiwanese company or
No, Japanese.
Yeah.
I was contacted by it's an advertisement company, Gray, which is one of the world's best. We have a main base in Germany, who have a contract with Toshiba to make an advertisement with this. But we were negotiating for a year because they wanted first to also bring this balloons to technology fairs in Germany. But then if you see the statistics of weather in autumn in Germany, it's 95% that it will rain and only 5% possibility it will be sunny, and we need sun to reflect. And then I say, okay, you can pay a lot of money, but the chance that you use it is small. But then they called me again to make an advertisement with this, but I was interested because they liked the concept of the message. It's like that if you can make a copy of the sun, you can realize everything. So it's not the more aesthetical part of the vision of the sun, which is important for them, but it was more the concept of the art, which is important, which I like. But then even for the advertisement, because they won a prize for best advertisement a couple of years ago by getting an artwork from an artist who linked a chair to a balloon, helium balloon, and sent the chair into space. But then they say this was done in kind of some desert in Nevada, and they wanted me to do this two suns in Nevada. I said no, we cannot you don't need two suns in the desert, you need it in the Lapland. And then I tell them that we, also in Lapland in winter, it's like, chances are like 5 to 1 that it will be cloudy. So I have to make them a proposal that we have to stay in Lapland for maybe 2 to 3 weeks to get the right weather conditions. And they said, oh, the film crew costs $1 million per day, we cannot pay you that. And then we didn't do even the yeah, the same project.
The Thailand is creating artificial rain here by creating clouds.
Yeah, that's a big issue. It's a thing which started already 10 years ago when things got more serious with global change. It's called geoengineering. And a lot of scientists all around the world are trying some crazy, big projects to change the climate and produce rain or throw particles of aluminum to kind of make a shadow, more darker atmosphere to lower the temperature, but this is a very dangerous thing. For example, when I started doing this in Finland, one bioengineer told me, no, you will wake up the bears from the hibernation and they will come to eat us and they will kick your ass. And I said, no, I'm not pointing this at the bears in the forest. This is the only small thing which is regulated in a certain area, like one square in the city or one building in the city. We're not changing the climate here. Okay, that was one of the
You had amazing kind of reactions to this.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
How much you can rise the temperature, say, for example, like 1 square meter or 1 square?
Yeah, well, the difference between shadow and light is about 10 degrees. So every reflection you add is about maybe 10 more. If you put like 3 balloons or 3 flying mirrors reflecting to 30 degrees more. But this is good when it's minus 20. It's plus 30 and you add 30 degrees more, it kind of don't even try it.
Maybe we could use this technique over the seas and the oceans so that we could create clouds over there, the water evaporates.
Yeah, but it's a simple process, and the idea of this is simple because it's simple to build. It's just by thin plastic. That's very cheap to do the balloon instead of like if you were doing a real airplane or satellite. But still, we're not talking about big change. This is more like an event and a message than a physical object. We do, in artwork, we just use whatever method to express an idea. Here, the material is, for me, it's not important, the message.
Wouldn't you be afraid of big corporations stole your idea? So you idea to make a homemade sun, show your own homemade sun, like that?
No, for me, it's not. For me, it's important to tell my message, and yeah, if they use it for another thing. Yeah, there was also like an advertisement, like a few months later, there was an advertisement for this fruit juice company, Tropicana. It's just like they were in the advertisement. There were people bringing the sun with a cable, hold it. Almost the same, like.
One more question?
Yeah.
Return back to this, the photo of the snow.
Yeah.
You found another element. You found it's like completely abstract plane in another shape or color or.
No, this project is only this concept. Of course, there are other artists who have made a series of photos of water or from black or from others, but this was a kind of join between what is conceptual art and what is photography and what is so-called relational art. Because in the end, I'm just kind of taking the material stuff out and leaving one to inspire your imagination at maximum. That in this case, yeah, I can use whatever other color or black or same concept with. It could have been the night, like I made a photo of the dark sky of night and it will completely black and you won't see anything, and it will still be the same concept like the white snow. It will be, what do you see? That you will see, you will imagine about how many times you went swimming at night or in a disco or whatever. What did you do? What do you usually do at night? This is just a way to erase the artist and the art world and put yourself in museum.
Could you just briefly go through your previous artworks again? What did you want to give a message with? What are you waiting for? To wake up the people?
Well, as I told before, it was like, okay, if this is also was done for a quite big event, this opening of the Venice Biennale, and there are thousands of people coming to see artwork. They fly from all around the world. I go there to see artwork, and I want to see something, And you arrive there, and the door is closed, and tells you go back home, do what you like instead of, this. So that is the message. For example, this is also an artwork that you can buy, and you put it on your fridge, and it will remind you every day about the things you wanted to do and you didn't do it. So.
They let you put it?
Yes, of course.
By this you meant whatever your vision is, it can move in any direction, right?
No, this is, I don't have the photo here from the real, how it's put, but it's put you go to the street and you can turn left and right, and this is in your face, and this is the right way. And then you say, if I go this, it will be the right way. If I go this, it will be the right way also. But it just tells you whatever you do is very important, Because, for example, it works on this kind of theory of physics and mathematics about the relation of things, the butterfly effect, that if you make one decision in your life differently, the whole thing will be different. So, just reminds you about the thing you do in life, that be more responsible, whatever you do.
Was there some caption to it? Did you write some caption to it?
Yes, on the side there is the list of all.
No, next to this, beside this, did you put some caption? Because otherwise people would not understand.
Yeah. Sometimes we put below the photo, but a little bit more distance. So
And what did the caption read?
just it says like snow, Helsinki, Finland, 2005. For example. That's where the location and the year.
said that you are born in Yugoslavia. In Yugoslavia there was main thing because social realism. In fact, it is not true. I mean, you have to think that when you are born, there was a lot of things going on in former Yugoslavia
Yes.
that were not related at all to social realism.
Yes, you're right.
I mean,
you're right.
someone like Marina Abramovic, that is one of the main artists, especially for presenting, introducing in the male art world the female sensitivity, is coming from Montenegro.
Yes.
And he started in Belgrade, and it was former Yugoslavia.
Yes. For example, I'll give you a reply on that. In Yugoslavia, they tried to make a good relation even with the East and the West bloc. So they implemented all the contemporary art from the West, of course. But in my case, I was studying, before going to Italy, I was in a kind of high school of art, where they didn't teach you theory of art, just practical, technical knowledge about art. That's why I'm telling this. And yes, in the most, of course, you have Marina Abramovic, you have the Irvin group, and Braza, who are really good and really original, and but 90% of the artists did social realism. And
the same thing here. I mean,
yes,
most of the
yes,
art
you're
is,
right, you're right.
religious traditional art, but
Yes,
you have
yes,
someone
yes.
like Monten Burma or
Yeah.
like Ricky Piravani,
Yes.
or you have
Yeah.
all these kind of things, and you like, this is present art. So, okay.
I tell you another interesting story which came out a couple of years ago. You know, like so the Secret Service's documents are open 50 years later, and for example, there was this case like 50 years ago, around '68, when the protests all around Europe and the Western world started by the young people. So Tito called his intelligence, the best intelligence, who are also mostly artists or writers, and said, okay, there is this big threat, the young people want to take over the power, what should we do? And then one say, okay, we have to do like the Russians, we have to make an atomic bomb so that the young people know that we have the power, they should play with us. And the others said, the artist said, no, we should do like the Americans did. They invented this music called rock and roll, and you have to bounce your head, and then the young people, everything is okay, and they don't protest. And they invested a lot of money in, for example, in rock and roll and abstract art, because this was a period also when there was the development of abstract art in the United States, but also a couple of years back, there were documents that say, okay, United States government give a lot of funding to CIA, which sponsored contemporary art, and mostly the craziest artists in the country, like Jackson Pollock or Marotko, just to make an advertisement that people in the States are free and they can do whatever they want, and just to say a statement in the global art world that we are free and the socialist countries are not free, are controlled by a system. But in the case, you see that maybe it's the same thing. This artist like Jackson Pollock, which we consider as the biggest innovative and creative, was created or sponsored, raised in career by the government. Yeah. Continue the nice day.
Another thing, just this very side. Nowadays there is another artist who is very easy with light, with sunlight.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
all through the years.
Yeah.
So what is your, not relation, what is your position
Yes.
towards it?
Okay, I really like his work, and I was really inspired by the projects he did in the last 20 years. I first saw his work in a small gallery in Berlin, which was just a stone on the ground and a ventilator on the top of the window. And this is the best work which inspired me. That you can do with a little bit, you can completely change the environment or even your physical state. With simple gesture, you can really change your whole environment or your physical state. After that, yes, he did projects like putting the green color in Stockholm, which I really like, because it lived a really strong message to a really big population. And in the end, he did his copy of the sun, which was like more like advertisement of the sun. This artist Oliver Eliasson did the first in a show in Panorama in Utrecht. There was a building, and on the top of the building, you have here in Bangkok, it's an advertisement for cola. He just made a yellow circle and made like an advertisement of the sun for the place like Holland also, which has a lot of rain and a lot of sun. And he after transformed this project in Tate Modern, which is the most visited exhibition of all time. More than 2 million people went to this museum in London just to look at this yellow disc and imagine that this is the sun, and they were lying on the ground like it was the beach. And it had a really strong message, but the title of his show is also, it's not about the sun, it's about how much we are related to climate. And it was a question about climate change. And now he's doing another project which I think it's called My Sun or something like that. It's a small, small solar panel with LED lights and plastic box which looks between the sunlight and a sunflower. And he tries to raise big money and to promote this and give this solar light to Africa, to children in Africa and everywhere around the world, just to promote the idea of alternative or solar energy. But in difference, what I don't like about, for example, he is from the Nordic countries and he's quite like practical. In his artwork is very, very practical. And I have more the southern mentality that it's more about the experience of things and not much about the material part of. Because in people from North Europe, I think artists are still related to material as an important part of their life. You know, they have this Protestant or like this philosophy that you need to survive in the Nordic countries. You have to have material wealth to be, heat your house, and stuff like that, which is not that much in Europe. That is the main difference. For example, if I never succeeded with this project of the balloon, for me it would have been okay at all. It's the idea is important, not the physical manifestation. But for example, all other artists from Nordic countries, when I talk with them, tell me about your work, they talk more about technical and physical properties than less about the idea, how it will influence the public. For me, it's more important to see how whatever I do will change how people think.
So when you come back from the country where there's no sun at all, and and you relocated to Biennale, to Thailand, which is a tropical country, and there's too many suns, and what are you working on now? What's your current project?
For one side, yes, I'm interested in Thailand to learn. In the last years, I'm a lot interested in this sustainable living and how can you like survive without getting too much into the globalized system and too much exportation of material goods. So I try to learn from the Thailand, which has developed a lot of craftsmen working with the national materials. And I'm also interested here about the do-it-yourself culture, that instead of people go to shop to buy things, they make their own things. And for example, I started doing in Macedonia this variation of this balloon with the black plastic, which you can build a balloon which uses sunlight to propulse itself, to fly from place to place without using nor electricity nor nothing, just light. And this variation of the balloon, that how can you make this balloon also to be like static above your head and make you a shadow if you know against the sun or against the rain. And yeah, this inspired me also to think about not using only plastic, which I used in Europe, but here you have the paper lanterns, and even like the first hot air balloons are made from textiles, so maybe you can try with silk, and so it won't be a plastic material, it will be yeah. So that's the variations I'm trying to develop here. We did a workshop for lanterns, like Loikratong lanterns last month in Payao, to change shape, change materials. How can we change this?
Any more questions or comments, please?
I think it's understand.
Okay, good.
I mean, it's just an image, more than a concept. I think that Southeast Asia, as it is now, reminds me very much to the Balkan area. So you are in Thailand, like Macedonia.
Yeah.
The situation here, I think, is much better than I think.
It's, I find many similarities. Yeah.
There is much more future. But anyhow, I think, I don't know. Anyhow, since the West enter its sort of kind of crisis, the decline of West empire, there are some areas of the world that are really promising.
Yeah.
And one of these areas is Southeast Asia, I think. But the same thing I can say about the Balkan area.
Yes.
So if Russia is the China or the Japan of today, Balkan is Southeast Asia.
Yes.
How do you consider that? I mean, you have the same hope being a Balkanic guy, or probably my view is too optimistic.
Okay. Strangely, like the Balkan is, there are like about 10 countries now who share this similar context, because maybe Greece is in the European Union, but the mentality is completely out from anything what happens in Europe doesn't consider them. They're more in like these transitional countries which don't know where they are, like the rest of the Balkans. And I see it's very how do you call. The line is thin. For example, I see a lot of development in Serbia and Croatia, because their mentality is like that I have to be the best. Because always, like in Yugoslavia, Serbia and Croatia were kind of competing. Oh, who is the best? I'm better than you. I'm better than you. And they, even in a very strong crisis and even in the war period, they were quite creative in inventing new things, inventing new economy completely from scratch. Like people start selling everything on the street and inventing. And Albania was also like do it yourself, everything after the communism crashed. But there were countries like Montenegro or Macedonia or Bulgaria or Greece that are just sitting there and watching, you know. They're less competitive, for example. But for example, Greece and Macedonia are similar to South Italy, where they have good kind of quality of life. They have a good nightlife. And for example, you go to the website of Lonely Planet and you Google which is the best country for nightlife or for social life, it will be Greece and Macedonia and Belgrade and Serbia. And yeah, we don't have a lot of jobs, but if you think about the culture, it's very good quality. Like best clubs, you go out, you have a good time, nice people. So it depends on what is your industry, for example. Not scientific development, but it's like Thailand, good culture. Yeah, because I was also working a lot in design and development of this creative industry. And when I went to Balkans, like this whole concept of industry is completely kind of forgotten, like a material, like industrial design or architecture is terrible. But social life and art, you know, there are young people who move a lot. That I think is services is okay, but not production.
But it's very interesting the way you compare Balkan with Southeast Asia in Europe. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, that's really
similar
interesting
situation.
analogy. But when I first met you, you know, I met him accidentally in Riau. You know, when I gave a lecture, and I thought that I should invite this Macedonian guy that I met in Riau to the Bangkok audience, you know, which is really interesting phenomenon. But I was really struck, you know, when you mentioned about the languages, and because of the ideas of Macedonia is very small country, which is very similar to Thailand, you know, during the Cold War, because you are like a small country and it's more or less like a buffer state. Can you tell the audience a little bit more, like how many languages that you have to study in school, and you know, when you're like, what is the reaction of the parents, and also how that the ideas of knowing too many languages, you know, it affect your creativity.
Yeah. Well, this thing which was good by the Yugoslavia had this it had a socialist system, but it was this president of Yugoslavia in a really strong Cold War made an interesting move that it tried to stay in good relations even with the East Bloc, like Russia, even with the States. So he got half from Russia and half from the States.
And this is really close, similar to
And
Thailand. You know?
but that is really good for the population. For example, people from East Europe, like Bulgaria, who was our next neighbor, was in the East Bloc, like with Russia, but they couldn't get to, never seen Western Europe. They have never been to Rome or whatever. It's really difficult to get a visa. Only maybe the highest politician can go to the West. But Yugoslavia had this passport of Yugoslavia that you can go everywhere around the world with no visa. And only Yugoslavia had this possibility. And a lot of people traveled and bring experience from other different places. So it was very cosmopolitan. And also, so the government to keep this economy, because it was good for the country, because you can trade with Russia and trade with America, it's really good for the economy. And then we had to study in school, like I had like from 7, 8-year-old, like at first you learn your local language and alphabet, which was Macedonian. And as soon as you learn only the alphabet of Cyrillic and the Macedonian language, the first year of school, the second year you learn Serbian language and Latin alphabet, because it's used in the other Republic of Yugoslavia. When you learn that, you start learning Russian and English, and like 4 languages at 10-year-old you study already. And then some like parents were, it's like, what do you want to make our children spies international? What is this? Like, why do our children have to speak 5 languages? You know? And this was, well, this is really good for me, that when I went to travel, then I could always speak with somebody, because now I see like a lot of tourists that go without knowing the language, and especially when I'm interested in culture, I have to know what the people are talking about, and I don't want to miss even one word, and not even if they speak, everywhere I go, first I buy a kind of a vocabulary, and I learn the language before I go to the country. I even had to learn, when I went to Finland, I learned Finnish, which is one of the most difficult languages. Sweden, everywhere then I try to learn as many languages now as possible to be able to learn as much as possible stuff.
Let's come back to your process and materiality you use. Somehow it's quite not cling to some big thing with installation. It's that your own process to deal with the problem during you achieve sun, to make the sun burst. Compared to some kind of installation that, such as land art that is quite big, or installation that change the whole landscape but doesn't change idea. I don't know that any example to compare.
You mean it's this project with sun is not too big, not influencing like
Yes.
the environment, or if it is too big?
Yes. I mean, at some point, it just to change people thinking about material, about collaboration, but it doesn't mean that the effective result will be that's only big installation, that's only big money. I mean, that's your own research, and you will do research and producing good work, you learn more and more, and you learn also about how you think about project, the possibility of them. Learn quite, and doesn't mean, I don't mean it's quite more democratic. Somehow you see very big project that's still there. Like, it's still there. It's physical.
Yes. Well, for me, first, when I saw like Olaf Eliasson, the artist who did the advertisement like Sun, he got $5 million budget to do that. So I say, okay, if he can get $5 million to do that, I can also make a couple of calls and get $5 million, and I can make this Sun really easily, because in that years, there were a lot of European money that all my friends curators were applying for money for a whole Biennale and asking for $5 million budget. Maybe somebody got it. Somebody applied for building a new museum for $5 million. Somebody got it. And I said, okay, first I thought like Olaf did it, so I can do it. And I thought it will be easy like that. But then 1 year was not easy like that. But I know that Olaf first, like 5-10 years ago, he started with making small photos, He didn't arrive at a $5 million project in 1 year, but in 10 years of work. But then I said, okay, if I make it like Olaf, it's ready for the public, will be something like, like the private company in America who goes to space now, It will be, yes, the rich people can do it. But then I say, I saw this new process of crowdsourcing, and I said, okay, I think this project can be realized even more easily with crowdsourcing than with getting a grant. And I tried this. I think it was really important for the message to do this in this way. And also like what you said, like I have to show to the other people that you can do big things with simple material. Like, yes, I go to the supermarket and I go buy in the supermarket the cellophane, they say sell for cooking, and then I make the whole sun with the cell phone you buy in the supermarket, and that leaves a message to every child, you know, and that hey, I can go also to the supermarket, buy cell phone and do something, you know. Yeah, but this was interesting in Sweden. I worked on a big project. There were 2 cities in Sweden that they have to relocate because the city in Lapland is developed because mostly for mining of steel or ore mining. And they built cities in that area, which is really cold because they dig the ore and staters or companies learn a lot of money. But then, for example, there are these 2 cities which it's so big the mine that the city started collapsing, and they have to relocate. And I went to work on this project. Okay, if we have to build a new city from scratch today in Lapland, this city should look like, how it should be. And this is really interesting. We gathered like 50, 100 best artists, architects, scientists to imagine possibilities. But then I saw that in this small city of maybe 20,000 inhabitants, they have a high school specialized in alternative energy in the middle of Lapland where you 2 months don't have even sun. And then I was like, oh wow, wonderful. And then I told them, okay, I'm working on this project, and we were working with the students like 10, 12, 13-year-old, and we built this prototype there with children, and for them that they can do this artificial sun with a cell phone was really wow. Like, how really can we change our life with this if we really, you know, think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Big applause for. Soft drink and
We can have
more
more personal
personal.
discussion. That's interesting. Maybe we should do the show, the Balkan, and the Balkan of Asia and Southeast Asia of Europe.
ตอนแรกคนเต็มห้องเลย ทุกทีเลยเวลาเป็นนี่ก็ตามwe invite artists to talk. Some contents is good for not only art students or art people. I don't know who attended. Most of them where are they from? First of all,